Have you ever wondered what actually happens the moment we take our last breath? Welcome to this explainer. To kick things off, I want you to visualize something with me. Picture a glowing, ethereal soul gently departing a human body, floating upward into a vast, cinematic cosmos. That profound image? That is exactly where our journey begins today. We're diving into one of the most comprehensive, mind-bending ancient texts in the Hindu tradition, the Garuda Purana. Now, you might think this is just a manual for the afterlife, but it is so much more than that. It's practically a guide to life, the universe, and everything in between. It literally connects the health of your physical body right now to the ultimate destiny of your soul.
Humanity has been obsessed with this ultimate question for millennia. What happens to the soul when the body dies? And how did ancient texts map out this incredible journey? Well, today we're going to explore exactly how the Garuda Purana answers this. And as you'll see, it plots a course that is just as structured, detailed, and logical as a modern geographical map.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by unpacking this ancient cosmic encyclopedia. Then we'll look at its surprising medical teachings for the living body and explore its ethical guidelines. After that, things get intense. We'll trace the soul's grueling 348-day journey, face the terrifying river Vaitarani, and finally, bring it all together to understand the ultimate goal, liberation. All right, let's jump right into part 1, an ancient cosmic encyclopedia. The Garuda Purana is an absolute behemoth of a text. We are talking about a massive 19,000 verses. And it's beautifully framed as this fascinating, continuous dialogue between Lord Vishnu and his bird vehicle, Garuda. But it's not just a collection of prayers. It's a literal encyclopedia. It covers everything from cosmology, like how the very universe was created, to super-specific medical diagnoses, rules for everyday ethics, and, of course, the incredibly intricate details of the afterlife. It was specifically designed to educate everyday people about both the practical, day-to-day stuff and the deep spiritual aspects of existence. The core philosophy tying all 19,000 of those verses together is actually pretty beautiful. It's the idea that the human body is a microcosm of the entire universe. The text explains that the universe is created by the union of Purusha, which is the spirit or the constant, and Prakriti, the physical matter or creative force. Think of it like a tiny seed that contains the entire blueprint of a massive, sprawling tree. The Garuda Purana asserts that the exact same laws and substances governing the swirling galaxies above are the ones governing your physical body, right down here on Earth. Which brings us perfectly to our second point, healing the living body, specifically through the Dhanvantari Samhita and Ayurveda. Because your body is a literal mirror of the universe, keeping it healthy isn't just good sense, it's a spiritual duty. This section of the text is essentially a masterclass in ancient Ayurveda taught by Lord Dhanvantari. It outlines a 5-fold diagnostic method called Pancha Nidan. Take heart disease, for example, or Hridaya Roga. The text doesn't just look at one symptom, it identifies 6 distinct root causes. These range from imbalances in the body's fundamental energies, like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, to other systemic issues. To put it into perspective, it's like a mechanic diagnosing a car engine. A good mechanic doesn't just hear a funny noise and guess. They check the fuel, the oil, the electrical system, and the physical parts all at once. It's a completely holistic approach to healing from the inside out.
Now let's move into part 3, ethics, yoga, and life. Finding the path of balance.
So, physical health is absolutely crucial, but it's only one part of the equation. Before we can even begin to talk about death, we have to understand how the living were instructed to find mental and spiritual balance. Here we have the 8 essentials of yoga, which represent a highly structured path to self-discipline. Visualize this like a glowing lotus flower blooming, petal by petal. It starts with your external behaviors, things like brahmacharyam, or continence, and aparigraha, which means not greedily accepting gifts. Then, kind of like peeling the layers of an onion, the practice moves inward. You have tapas for intense concentration, pranayama for controlling your breath, and pratyahara for restraining your wandering senses. Finally, it all culminates in dhyanam, deep meditation, and samadhi, the ultimate psychic realization of the self. This isn't just theory, it's a daily action plan for the living to prepare their minds for the inevitable journey ahead. Okay, now we reach the major transition in part 4, the soul's 348-day journey to Yamaloka. This is where the epic trek from life to death officially begins. On the 13th day after death, once the earthly funeral rites are completed, the soul sets off. And it's not a gentle stroll. The soul is escorted, and let's be honest, sometimes dragged, by the Yamadutas, the fierce messengers of death. It is a grueling, dark march across vast cosmic distances.
By the 7th month, the soul hits a milestone called Bhavapada. By the 11th month, it trudges into Raudrapura. Finally, on day 348, nearly a full year later, the totally exhausted soul reaches the looming gates of Yamaloka. But right before the end, there's a massive obstacle. Part 5, crossing the river Vaitarni, the absolute final hurdle. As the Agni Purana perfectly describes it, there is the dark Vaitarani River at the dreadful entrance to the place of the god of death. Imagine a terrifying, churning river of literal fire and blood, completely shrouded in thick fog. Out of the mist, a small, weathered boat steered by ancient ferrymen appears. This river is the ultimate, definitive boundary separating Earth from the infernal realm. So, the big question is, how does a soul actually get across this nightmare? The river is massive, over 100 yojanas long, which translates to hundreds of miles. To the sinful, it looks like it's filled with blood and pus, and it's guarded by fierce creatures. To cross safely in the ferryman's boat, you literally have to pay a toll. But wait, how does a spirit pay a fee? Well, this is where the physical world deeply impacts the spiritual one. Safe passage is completely secured by the deceased's family back on Earth. During the Antieshti, or last rites, they perform a specific ritual of gifting a Vaitarani cow. That real-world act of charity transforms into spiritual currency, basically buying their loved one a ticket so they don't have to suffer that agonizing swim across. Once they safely cross, the soul enters Yamaraja's court for judgment. Here, they meet Chitragupta, the ultimate celestial accountant. He reads from the Agrasandhani. You can think of this book like a massive, glowing, cosmic hard drive that has meticulously recorded every single good and bad deed the person ever performed. Based on this flawless, unhackable record, Yamaraja dispenses perfect justice. He sends the soul either to heavenly realms or to undergo punishment before they are eventually reincarnated to try the whole thing over again. All right, let's bring it all together in part 6, a quick recap and the quest for ultimate liberation, breaking the cycle of samsara. We have covered an immense amount of cosmic ground today, and it helps to view this journey as a continuous wheel. Step 1. You maintain your living body through Ayurveda because your body is a sacred mini-universe. Step 2. You practice ethics and yoga to discipline your mind. Step 3. When death eventually comes, your family performs strict funeral rites to protect your soul on its year-long journey. And Step 4. The soul faces pure, unfiltered justice based on its earthly actions. This turning wheel represents samsara, the endless, exhausting cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. But the whole point of the Garuda Purana is to teach you how to finally step off that wheel. And that is what brings us to moksha, the ultimate goal of every single Ayurvedic remedy, every yoga pose, and every solemn funeral rite, is liberation. Moksha is the ultimate escape hatch from the cycle of reincarnation. It happens when the soul finally achieves true self-realization, the profound understanding that it is not separate from the universe at all, but is actually in perfect oneness with Brahman, the supreme unchanging reality. Chapter 235 of the Garuda Purana hits the nail on the head. The yogins, through yoga, realize their being with the supreme Brahman. Realization of this is called mukti. At this point, the soul is no longer traveling, no longer being dragged, no longer judged. It has peacefully dissolved into the brilliant, warm light of the infinite universe. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. We spent today exploring vast cosmic journeys, horrifying rivers of fire, and celestial courts of justice. But remember the core teaching. The universe is simply a macrocosm of your own body. So if the entire sprawling cosmos exists within you, what hidden worlds are you exploring within yourself right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the Garuda Purana. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep seeking that balance in your own inner universe.